Name's Luke Donenworth. I am the Chief Banking Officer here at Bank Midwest. And our episode today is going to be focused on fraud and cybersecurity. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And this is a hot topic in our industry and affects everyone on a daily basis. So our goal today is provide you with some information on what we're seeing in the fraud side of things, provide some information on different products that may be able to help you and protect your business, and also share some real life examples of fraud cases that we're seeing right now to hopefully help you protect your company and help us all fight fraud together as we move into the future. Fraud's not going away. It's going to continue to be a challenge. And I think working together in a trusted partnership with our customers and our communities is what's going to allow us to be successful fighting fraud going forward. So we've got a great lineup of speakers here today, and we're going to kick things off with Stacy Walter, who is our fraud prevention manager here at Bank Midwest. Welcome, Stacy.
Hi, thanks, Luke. So as small business owners, you're facing really a growing threat. Fraud is really increasing, targeting businesses like yours. With limited resources, lean teams, and operations built on trust, small businesses can especially be vulnerable to manipulation and deceptive tactics. So to start things off, today I'm going to be walking through 3 common fraud trends that are affecting businesses right now. The first one is the bank impersonation scams. This scam has really gained significant traction this year, and it's both highly effective and really is deeply concerning. Here's how it works. Fraudsters are calling you, impersonating your financial institution representative. They even are spoofing your bank's phone numbers, making it more legitimate. Now they create a sense of urgency. They claim to be seeing suspicious activity appearing in your bank account, such as ACH or wire transfers. Now their goal is to get you to share login credentials, passwords, or even codes, anything that will get them into your cash management system that will allow them to quickly and quietly move funds out of your account behind the scenes. So some red flags to watch for. Make sure if you see any urgent or unexpected requests for sensitive information, pressure to act immediately, gut feelings, anything like that, always trust your gut. That's going to tell you everything. Prevention. If you're taking notes, make sure you write this down. If you receive a call from your financial institution, especially if it's from the fraud department, and you weren't really expecting that call, don't engage right away. Tell the caller that you're going to call them right back. And please do, it's really important, because if it was your fraud team, you'll want to know what's going on. That's where, when you call them back, use a trusted number, one that you have saved. If you don't have one for your bank quite yet, look at the bank website to get that number and ask for the name of the person who called you, or ask for your business support team or your fraud team. The second one I talk about is check fraud. Now this is going to be your altered, your counterfeit, or even your stolen checks. Fraudsters are really intercepting checks in the mail and replicating them using similar check stock, printing your routing and account number, even your company logo on these checks to make them appear legitimate. What's their goal? Their goal is to get these checks to clear your account without detection, bypassing safeguards by mimicking the check's design and details. This fraud is especially dangerous because they can appear to be legitimate to both the financial institution and the recipients until it's too late. So some red flags to watch for are unexpected checks clearing or duplicate check numbers, and calls from your vendors reporting that they have a missing payment when you know that you've already paid that check and you've seen it clear your account. So prevention. Make sure you use secure mailing methods. If you have to drop your checks off in a blue box, make sure it's during the day before the mail is picked up. You really should take your mail into the post office if possible. Consider switching to electronic payments whenever possible. And it's really important to monitor your accounts regularly and closely. Look at those check images when they clear your account. You want to make sure nobody changed the payee, the dollar amount, anything like that. And use positive pay. If you're not familiar with what positive pay, we'll get to that later. And the next thing I want to talk about is business email compromises. Fraudsters continue to impersonate trusted vendors through highly convincing emails designed to be deceiving businesses. Their goal is to trick employees into wiring or changing financial institution information, redirecting payments to fraudulent accounts. These emails, they look legitimate, complete with familiar branding, signatures, and formatting. And they create a sense of urgency that catches your employees off guard. Red flags to look for: sudden payment instruction changes, requesting to update financial information without prior notice that you've been talking to with the individual about sending the payment. Now, prevention. How can we stop this? Always call a trusted number, not the one on the email chain, and verbally confirm that there's been a change in payment instructions. And read the numbers back to the person if they did say they changed the numbers, because we want to prevent any man-in-the-middle attack. And also train your employees to recognize suspicious requests and implement email authentication protocols. The next thing we're going to talk about is protecting your data. Data is really the lifeblood of your business, your customer information of financial records. I want to share some key steps that you can take to protect your data and reduce risk, even if you do have limited resources. You want to secure your data and network. Start with the basics. Your device and networks are really the front line of defense. Make sure all computers, your mobile devices, and your Wi-Fi are properly secured. You want to use strong, unique passwords and really change them regularly. You want to enable firewalls and antivirus software in all devices. Keep systems and software up to date to patch those vulnerabilities. And back up and encrypt your data. Data loss can happen due to cyber attacks, hardware failure, and even just human error. You want to schedule backups to secure cloud or external drives. Encrypt sensitive files, especially stored or shared online. And test your backups regularly to ensure they're recoverable. Cyber threats are real, but with smart habits and simple tools, you can protect your business. Start small, stay consistent, and make data security part of your culture. So we're talking about strong passwords for business security. Passwords really are your line of defense against cyber threats. Yet weak passwords or reused passwords remain one of the biggest vulnerabilities for small businesses. Let's talk about how to build strong password habits that protect your data and your reputation. What makes a strong password? A strong password is long, it's complex, and it's really unpredictable. Best practices: make sure it's at least 12 characters long. Alphanumeric, meaning mix of uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and symbols. Avoid using names, birthdays, or common words. Implement business-wide password policies. Strong passwords only work if everyone on your team uses them. Best practices require password changes every 90 days. You want to enforce the complexity rule within your team and enable multi-factor authentication whenever possible. The more layers you have for security, the more safer your business is going to be. Train your employees on phishing and password safety. Trust me, it's going to benefit you overall. Now, strong passwords are simple, effective, and essential. Now, what to do if fraud is suspected? Discovering potential fraud in your business, it's truly overwhelming. I know, but acting quickly and strategically is key. So let's walk through the essential steps to take if you do suspect fraud. Your first move is just to stay calm and start documenting. You want to write down everything. Write down what triggered your suspicion, the dates, the times, transactions, everything and everything. You want to save evidence, save your emails, save invoices, save logs, everything you have that relates to this event. You want to secure your systems and limit access to prevent future damage by locking down everything. You want to revoke access to your systems, alert your IT team if you have one, or your network provider to monitor for any unusual activity. And you want to report and investigate. Please don't try to handle this alone. Bring in the right support. Contact your financial institution right away. We will be there to help you. We know what it's like. Contact your cyber insurance provider immediately. And consider reporting this to law enforcement if it's appropriate too. Next is just a fraud report checklist that kind of goes over what we just talked about. And really, fraud can happen to any business, but your response can make all the difference. Be prepared, act quickly, and lean on professionals to guide your next steps. You don't need to be big to be secure, just smart, aware, and ready to act. Every small step strengthens your business. Now, next I want to walk through a real life example involving one of our clients and their firsthand experience with fraud. This case illustrates just how quickly and convincingly these schemes can unfold, and critical lessons what we can learn from it. Not long ago, an employee at a local business received a call from someone claiming to be from Bank Midwest. The caller ID even displayed our bank's name, adding to the illusion of legitimacy. The caller stated that they had even detected several ACHs pending on the company's account and wanted to verify the authenticity. Now, this created a huge sense of urgency. Alarmed, the employee of this business confirmed that these were not transactions that they had initiated. The caller then offered to help the fraudulent activity by joining the employee's online banking session. Well, the employee trusted the caller, thinking they were from Bank Midwest, and they agreed to allow them into their system. And then they were instructed to leave their computer on while they worked to cancel the transactions on their behalf. As they were in there working and doing their thing behind the scenes maliciously, Bank Midwest, our fraud monitoring system behind the scenes, were alerted by our monitoring system that there was suspicious activity going on for this particular company on the fraud team. So our fraud team immediately reached out to this company and confirmed that the account takeover was in progress. It was a bit confusing because the real fraud team reached out to the company and they thought they were already talking to Bank Midwest, but we got that all ironed out and we were able to shut everything down, stop anything else from leaving the company's account. But in total, the fraudsters were successful into scheduling over $170,000 in unauthorized electronic payments from leaving the account. Thanks to swift action from our fraud team and retail operations teams, we were able to lock down the account and begin contacting the receiving bank to recover the funds. We successfully recovered most of the money, and the client experienced only just a minor loss. So in the end, the customer considered themselves fortunate, recognizing that the loss could have been far greater. This experience reinforces the critical truth. When it comes to fraud, prevention is key. Remembering what you wrote down earlier, if someone from the bank calls you unexpectedly, simply hang up, call them back on a trusted number. It may just save you thousands of dollars. With that in mind, I'll now turn it over to Brooke, who will walk us through the tools and resources we offer to help our business customers strengthen their defenses and stay ahead of fraud. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. I'll be talking about Positive Pay. Positive Pay is a fraud prevention service that helps your business accounts from unauthorized transactions. There are two types of Positive Pay. We have Check Positive Pay and ACH Positive Pay. Check Positive Pay compares checks presented for payment to a list of checks that you've issued. And ACH Positive Pay allows you to set rules for which ACH transactions are allowed to post to your account. So how does Positive Pay work? Check Positive Pay, you will upload a file of issued checks, which would include the check number, the amount, and the payee. You can also manually enter this information. And then when a check is presented at the bank, that the bank will match that check to the file you uploaded. If that check doesn't match, it's flagged as an exception, and then it will go for you to review, and you can decide whether you want to pay that check or return it. For ACH Positive Pay, you will set up rules for the debits and credits that come through. And for example, the approved vendors and the dollar limits. I like to give the example here, like Blue Cross. You could set Blue Cross up that they're allowed to debit your account on the 15th of the month for $100. Let's say Blue Cross comes through on the 15th of the month and the amount is $125. That will trigger an exception and on your account, and you can go through that next day and set it as pay or return. And if it's one that you want to continue paying for $125 each month, you would just set it up as a new rule that it's approved going forward each month. If it's unauthorized, you would just return it. So why is Positive Pay important? Check fraud and ACH fraud are among the most common types of business fraud. Positive Pay helps catch altered checks, counter checks, and unauthorized ACH debits before they clear your account. It can give you control and peace of mind. You get to decide what gets paid. Exceptions are reviewed by you before any of the money leaves your account. It can also prevent just one fraudulent transaction, which can save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Also, it can help reduce the time and cost of dealing with any fraud recovery. From a compliance and risk management standpoint, it can help you meet those internal audit and compliance standards, as well as demonstrate proactive risk and management to your stakeholders and employee owners. Businesses that use Positive Pay report significant lower fraud losses. It's especially critical for companies that issue a high volume of checks or receive frequent ACH payments. So how do you decide if Positive Pay is right for you? It's important for you if you issue checks regularly, receive ACH payments or debits, if you want tighter control over your cash flow, or if you value fraud and prevention and want to operate efficiency. If any of these things resonate with you, then ACH or check fraud or check Positive Pay is definitely a must-have for you. So now I want to give you an example of how Positive Pay helped out one of our customers. Unfortunately, Positive Pay is usually an afterthought for our customers. It comes into play after fraud happens. And so this is an example of that when we issued Positive Pay after fraud had happened. But we had a customer that experienced a case of check fraud due to a scammer. They had stole their account number and they started issuing fraudulent checks with their account number on it. So after we noticed that, then we set them up with Positive Pay. And then in the following months, they started to see these fraudulent checks continue to come through their account. But because we had Positive Pay set up for them, those checks were halted and we were able to return them. And in 1 month alone, because Positive Pay was on their account, we were able to save them over $362,000 from leaving their account. So while having the right tools to prevent fraud is important, trusting your gut can also go a long way to helping prevent fraud. If something doesn't seem right, it's okay to question it. The next business was lucky that our employee took the time to trust their gut feeling and question a request. So with this, I'd like to give you a customer testimonial. It's not directly related to Positive Pay, but it deals with wires. So we had an employee of Bank Midwest that had received an email from a customer requesting to do a wire for them. This email had instructed the employee to, it was one that they had been conversing with all morning, and it had the wire instructions in it. And our customer called that employee owner that morning and confirmed the amount, and the employee owner said that that was correct with the amount. And so our employee went ahead and got everything ready and sent to our team to process. And then afterwards, our employee went to her desk and was reading the string of emails and noticed that the last email that the customer sent to them had information in it that said to update the details of the bank account. And that just seemed pretty suspicious to our employee. And so she called the customer back to confirm, to see if that information was correct. And the customer went ahead and said that was not correct, that they did not send that email, and that the information was not correct. And so we were able to contact our back office and actually stop that wire. And so our customer was able to contact their IT, in which they did an investigation. And what had happened was a hacker had gotten into their email and set up some rules in their system to pull certain information. So they had sent certain rules to send altered emails back and forth. And so even though our employee, it was used to contacting this customer day in and day out, and changing wires was not uncommon, it's important to trust your gut and make sure your emails are set up correctly. So it's important to trust your gut and verify in all situations. Now let's continue with our next guest, Josh, who will talk through the insurance coverage side of things.
Good morning. My name is Josh Peterson. I'm a commercial insurance agent here at Bank Midwest. Welcome to our fraud seminar, webinar, I should say. I'm glad to be here with you guys this morning, specifically to talk a little bit about cyber liability insurance. And this is a hot topic, not only for small businesses, large businesses, and individuals. Many people are impacted by this. One might argue that everyone is. And so let's first talk a little bit about what cyber liability insurance is. And specifically, that is really there to help you cover or recover from any financial losses due to cyber attacks, data breaches, other fraudulent technology type activities. And it's really two-faceted. So there's first party cyber coverage, which is really direct loss to you as a business. And this could include anything from just the amount of time that you're down, potentially ransomware, recovery costs, you name it. But again, the specifically things that are impacting you and your business. And then there are third party, and that's going to be liability to others, and that's your customers or your downstream impacts. That could be vendor relationships, any potential information that you have that could be breached for the other party. So why does it matter? Okay, and I don't think this will surprise people, but cyber crime, a projection was be to $10 trillion by 2025, which is just an insane number. The average data breach costs $4.45 million. That's a statistic from 2023. I don't know what that looks like today, but many of you may agree. I think that's a lot for certainly small businesses, but any type of business to have that kind of impact and be able to recover from that. Small and medium businesses are especially vulnerable, and that could be for any number of reasons. In many cases, maybe not the IT resources that larger corporations can have intact, and maybe just not overall resources in general. But that insurance is going to help to basically bridge that financial gap in the event that, again, something happens. So what does cyber liability insurance cover? And like many insurance policies or products, these things can be catered to your needs or customized, but generally speaking, they are going to have very similar components. So for one would be like a data breach response. So in the event of that type of a situation where, say, customer information is compromised, it's going to notify those parties what happened, how, and also go to other measures, potential even as far as offering credit monitoring type plans to those impacted. It can cover ransomware and extortion payments. When these circumstances happen, it's also going to help you to cover the legal defenses, any regulatory fines involved with that incident. Business interruption costs are also a part of many of those policies, in some cases optional, and many of you may have that type of coverage with your standard, like property and casualty, like business interruption. Typically, when it comes to cyber liability type exposures, those are going to be excluded on a standard policy. So you would want to have cyber liability coverage in place to protect you from these incidences. And again, forensic investigation, IT recovery, really all those things associated with the issue. What doesn't it cover? And usually speaking, the actual hardware or physical property, those are typically, again, going to be covered by a different type of property coverage. They won't be under the cyber policy. Loss of intellectual value, generally hard to put a limit on those types of things. Incidents known before the policy started, you may laugh at that, but truly, if it's not a situation where something happens and then you take out the policy, that is not going to cover you in that circumstance. It's something you'd want to have in place in preparation for these types of scenarios. Finally, war and terrorism type related attacks are often excluded by those policies as well. So who can benefit from this? Or again, like I mentioned earlier, I think one could argue that every business could benefit from this. Healthcare, finance, retail, education, government, you name it. Again, everybody is potentially impacted. In particular, if you're storing data or relying on any type of IT infrastructure, I mean, these are reasons that you would benefit from this or probably want to have it. Again, if you're accepting payments, taking any kind of customer information, or very reliant upon email, these make you susceptible. Cyber liability insurance is not the answer alone. I think it'd be advisable that you have some type of a risk management program in place as well, that is going to complement that policy. Again, not a substitute. Firewalls, multi-factor authentication, employee training, regular backups. These are all things that would certainly be recommended, and I advise you too that in many circumstances, it's a requirement to obtain a cyber liability policy. They are going to check and take a look at what measures you currently have in place before binding any coverage for you. So, case example and takeaways, not a real strong case example. I kind of did that on purpose. These things happen all the time to anyone. This is particularly, in this case, it was a law firm whose email system was compromised, and there wasn't widespread people impacted by this, but there were a few. And ultimately, that cyber liability policy reacts to that, covers the forensics, the notifications, the legal defense, again, the PR support to recover from that scenario and get back on their feet without a major bump in the road. Just as noted on your screen there, cyber threats, they're costly and unavoidable. It's bound to impact you at some point, and having that liability insurance in place is going to be very helpful for you at that time. It will help you recover faster. And basically it's, as I mentioned there, it really does offer a safety net to really any type of business, any modern business out there today that's utilizing technology. In closing, that's really all I had. Again, thank you all for being here. I appreciate the time today. I do want to send it back to Luke here for some final thoughts and takeaways. Thanks again.
Thank you, Josh, Brooke, and Stacy, for the valuable information that you shared today. It was really, really good information and a lot of good takeaways there. I think when it comes to fighting fraud, the most important thing is communication. From our end, if we see heightened fraud instances, we're going to try to communicate with you as much as possible. That'll be notices through email, banners on our website, alerts on our social media. And again, if you see something that doesn't feel right, say something. We're fighting this battle together. And as Stacy always says, trust your gut. We're here to help and answer any questions that you may have. Open communication with your bank and banker is so important. We can fight fraud better when we work together, and the Bank Midwest fraud team is always here to help. We've got their phone number listed on the next slide, and they're here to keep your accounts safe and secure. So again, thank you for joining us today. At the conclusion of this, you will receive an email follow-up onto the webinar today. That email will have a survey for you to take where you can provide feedback to us. And please complete that. Let us know how we did. Let us know if this is the type of information that's helpful, or if you've got other ideas that you'd like us to cover in future episodes. We would really appreciate your feedback. In that email, you can also request a recording of today's episode. Please feel free to share that with anyone in your network that wasn't on this call that you think may benefit from that information. And again, just thank you for being here and for your continued partnership with Bank Midwest. Have a great day.